Hello and welcome back to Triplicate, home of interesting electronics. And time for a new project, which today is a cat feeder, an automatic cat feeder. The idea being you go away for a couple of days, you fill the little trays under these lids up with cat food, you put a battery in, you set it here to 20 hours and 40 hours. So that's the delay till it opens, and these things then just chug around that way. The preset number of hours, and the lid opens, and in there you have a tray with some cat food, and in the bottom a cooler, an ice pack. Fine, it works for a reasonable while, and then it started getting a bit unreliable, and then we came home to two closed lids and a very unhappy cat. So we got another one, and I'm not entirely convinced that one's going to last any time and keep working. So I thought I'd have a look into this one, see if we could make it more reliable and have a bit of fun at the same time. Okay, so let's have a look and see how it works. As you can see, I've already dismembered it to some extent. I've taken this side out and I've just put a crocodile clip in to hold that knob in place. So we can look at the other side. So it is powered by one of these, which is there, that's where it sits, which is just a standard quartz clock mechanism as far as I can see, which has a gear on it which runs from the hour hand, and this turns this gear and that gear, which is connected to the back of the knob. So I think the problem with this is that this clock mechanism is only intended to drive hands round which sort of wave about in fresh air, not drive all these gears. And they can be quite stiff. And secondly, you set it up by moving this knob round, which has to slide on, well, the gear slides on the knob, and eventually that's got to get a bit loose, a bit slack. Bear with me. So yes, gear goes on there like that, and eventually that's got to get a bit slack on there and the gear will turn and the knob won't. So how are we going to improve upon this? My first thought was to have a little catch. See here, I can get the camera to see it. Oops. A little catch on that tab here, represented by my fingernail, and at the time we wanted to open, we just release that catch and up it comes. And to operate that, I thought we would use one of these little solenoids, which works, right-handed camera, like that. But as you can see, it draws 3 amps, which is a lot of power. And although, yeah, we'd only need a very short pulse and we could discharge a big capacitor into it, it would probably have to be a big capacitor. So not too sure about that. And also release that, it shoots the centre across through him. But more of a problem, we would have to find some way to translate that pulling in to pulling a catch off there, which would mean some quite complicated little mechanics. And we're here to do electronics, not the small mechanical engineering. So my next idea was to simply drive the knob round, leave the knob in place and drive it round. So that's the shaft, so we just need some kind of motor to drive that round. And that's simple. So I thought we would use a stepper motor. And it's thundering. So here we have a stepper motor, cheap off eBay, a few pounds off eBay, and I've never used a stepper motor before, so we could have a bit of fun learning together about stepper motors. So the first thing we learn about a stepper motor is we need a driver for it. So there we have a cheap driver board, and that plugs in there. Come on, like that. And it has 4 inputs, which we will drive from our trusty Arduino, and to connect between those we have, it's just a little prototyping board for the Arduino, which I shall solder together. And to connect between the motor and the control knob, which is still in here, we have these little things. Very clever. You can see they flex. Looking into stepper motor stuff, there's all sorts of fun things like this. It's a new world to me, so I'll probably try and think up some more stepper motor projects. So this one is, this is the small one. So this, I've got 2 of them. This one's 5mm, which fits the motor, and 5mm at this end, which is just a little floppy on the shaft. Now you get set screws to pull it down, but then it would be slightly off centre, so it wasn't ideal. I've also got a 4mm to 5mm. That end is, get that 5mm, and this end is 4mm, which doesn't fit on the shaft. However, I shall put a 4.5mm drill through that hole, and then it will fit. So I think at this point what I need to do is drill that hole out so we can mount the knob on the motor, and we'll just do it on the bench for now, and assemble this thing and connect it to that board. So I'll bring you back when I've done that, because I'm sure you don't want to watch me soldering for half an hour. Okay, so it's a couple of days later and I've finished wiring up this stepper motor drive board, and I will try and zoom in and show you what I've done. Is she going to focus? So here it is, insulated for now from the other board. This board is the one that simply plugs into the top of the Arduino, and well, starting to ask a bit much of the camera here, I think. Okay, so I've wired the 4 inputs to port pins 0, 1, 2 and 3 on the Arduino, and if we look here, the red is the red is the processor power and the purple is the motor power. You can use them the same, but I don't really fancy trying to power the motor from my USB hub. It probably hasn't got the go, and I don't want any nasties back from the motor going into my computer. So the purple and black wires will be the motor power, which will eventually, so they're just looped around here, go into a separate power supply. But just to get us going, I have wired it to the same 5 volts. I haven't plugged the motor in because this board helpfully comes with 4 LEDs. So we're going to get these LEDs working how we expect them to work, and then we're going to try plugging in the motor and getting that to go. Okay, so on the computer I have Wikipedia's page on stepper motors and a brand new Arduino project called Cat Feeder. So let us write some code and see if we can get it to work. Actually, I think I'll leave it there for this one and continue with actually getting the stepper motor moving in the next video. So for now, it's goodbye. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment if you've got anything you'd like to say, and I'll see you next time. So it's goodbye from Triplicate, home of interesting electronics.